Hi guys, it's Marcy Hurst, and today we are going to be working through Chapter 2 in your text, selecting and aligning. I'm just going to cover a few of the concepts that you're going to learn in this chapter, but you can work through all of the details and all the activities on your own as well. But I wanted to cover some of the highlights. First of all, we're going to work with selecting objects, and you're going to learn different tools that you can use in Illustrator to select objects. And you use a tool like the selection tool, which is the black arrow at the top of your tool bar, to select or move or even resize entire objects. So the selection tool is probably your primary tool that you'll use for that, so we're going to practice with that for just a few minutes. Let's zoom in to these red dots here and then go back to our selection tool, and you can use the selection tool to click on your object and notice that you'll get this sort of blue outline square around your object. This is called a bounding box, and it has different handles on the corners that you can rotate your object or resize your object, things like that. Now when you hold down the Shift key when clicking on any of these, you will constrain what you're doing, so it will stay a perfect circle or stay proportionate from where you started. To deselect an object, you just click off of the object anywhere on the board. You can also come up to select and then deselect. Obviously I don't have anything selected, so that's why it's not showing up here, but if I did, I could deselect as well from there. To select multiple objects that are next to each other using the selection tool, you just draw a marquee around it. You do that by clicking and holding down as you drag your cursor across the objects. And now you'll see that we have both of these objects selected. You can also click on the object and hold your Shift key down and click on another object. That's another way to select multiple objects that are next to each other. Remember, to deselect, you just click off of the object that you selected. The next tool we're going to look at is the direct selection tool. And the direct selection tool selects anchor points or path segments within an object so that it can be reshaped. So remember that all of our objects are drawn in Illustrator are using vector graphics. Therefore, they are basically points on a graph with lines in between them. So, for example, if we go down to the all these little orange bars down here, and then we're going to zoom into that area. Remember, you click and drag a marquee around an area that you want to zoom into, and then go back up and use the direct selection tool. Notice when I put my cursor over parts of the object, these little squares show up. Those are actually the vector points that were used to draw this object. So if I click on it, now you'll see all the vector points. The one that is selected is colored in blue. I know it's hard to see, and unfortunately you can zoom in as far as you want, but the dots will still be the same size. But you can see that this particular object is made up of 6 vector points that were drawn, probably using one of the shape tools. And then the one that's selected is colored in, but the others that aren't selected are white. And notice that the one that's selected also has these little handlebars that come out from it. Now you can use these, you can either drag the point to reshape, or you can use these handlebars and you can click and drag them to stretch them and move them around, and you can reshape this object. So I'm clicking on the little handlebar and I'm clicking and dragging and reshaping it based on using these handlebars. Notice that if you pull them out, you get a different shape versus if you push them in. And so you can sort of manipulate these as however you want to get the shape that you're looking for. The next tool we're going to look at is the magic wand tool. Now, if you've used Photoshop before, you're familiar with this tool. However, it doesn't act exactly the same way as it does in Photoshop, as it does here in Illustrator. It's the same sort of concept, but not technically the exact same thing. So basically, if you have a bunch of objects that have similar attributes, and you can customize this tool to include all the different attributes, and you can also limit it and change the tolerances or the ranges of those attributes to customize it a little bit more. But basically it will select all of the objects on your artboard that has the same attributes as the one you click on. So for example, if I click on this the red circle with the black outline, it's going to select all of the objects on the board that have a similar structure. So notice when I clicked on this particular red circle, it also selected the other red circle. There are actually other tools and other methods of selecting similar objects that are lined out for you in the text, and I encourage you to work through those as well. But these are the main tools for it. The next section of your text deals with aligning objects. Illustrator makes it easy to align or distribute multiple objects relative to each other to the artboard or a key object. In this section, you'll learn how to align objects and even align points, and you'll learn what a key object is. I'm just going to show you a few of the basic aligning tools. The first thing you need to do is select all of the objects that you want to align. I'm going to use my selection tool and draw a marquee around all of these orange tubes. Click and drag a marquee, and now they're all selected. I'm going to go up to my window panel on my main menu and find the align window, since it wasn't already open for me, and you can see all the various options for aligning and distributing objects. So for example, if I choose vertical align top, then they all line up at the top just like that, easy peasy, and I don't have to move them all and sort of guide where I'm putting them and things like that. The next thing we're going to look at is how to align objects to a key object. A key object is an object that you want other objects to align to. So you're going to specify the key object, and then everything else will line up next to that accordingly. For example, earlier when we selected all of these orange tubes and we clicked the vertical align top, notice it's going to go to the topmost one. Well, what if I don't want that one to be the one that it's aligned to? What if I want it to be this one? This is the one that's the right height for me. So if I just click this, it'll all go to the top one. However, if I have all of the objects that I want to align already selected, and then I once again click on one of those objects in there, notice how there's like a thick blue line that now surrounds that object. This object is now my key object, so that when I choose align vertical again at the top, they're all going to align to that key object. And the same thing for all of the other choices that you have here, align and even the distribution ones. So that's how you select a key object. The last thing that we're going to look at in this chapter is how to work with groups. You can combine objects in a group so that the objects are treated as a single unit. This way you can move or transform a number of objects without affecting them, the individual attributes or the relative positions. So when you have a complex drawing, this becomes more important. Obviously, when it's a simple drawing, you can keep things organized and figure out where they are. But once you start getting really complicated drawings, you want to group some things together so that they always stay together and you don't accidentally move something that you're not intending to. So to create a group, you're just going to select several objects. You can either hold down your Shift key, or you can draw a marquee around those objects. And then you're going to go up into your menu and choose Object and then Group. And there you go. Those are now a group, so that when I move them, they all move together. If I wanted to transform them, they all transform together. To ungroup them, you just select the group and then choose Ungroup. Pretty simple. There are some more details on how to nest groups and how to add selections to groups in your text, so be sure to go over those as well. And that's it for Chapter 2.